right. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Jasmine.
And I'm Andrea.
And
we're Natural You.
That's right. This is our first time going live on YouTube, so
it's a whole new experience.
I'm just going to
kind of exciting.
Yeah, I'm going to try and share this chat with our Facebook group. Normally we go live on Facebook for Sunday Sip and Stitch. So
yes.
We hope you joined us today with your knitting. I had to double check that I had mine.
And something to sip.
Yeah, something to stitch and something to sip.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a first. Cheers. What have you got in your coffee that we had to cheers?
I don't know. You made it. Bad luck not to drink though. Okay.
I'm drinking.
Right. I'm going to go ahead and share our live on our Facebook.
Okay.
And
we're just going to wait a minute for everybody to join us. Is that it?
Yeah. Okay. I think it paused us while we went live. Hello, Joanne.
Hi, Joanne.
Thank you for joining us today. We're not entirely sure what we're doing.
I don't know what you've heard and what you haven't, whether we were paused or not. So I'm Andrea, and this is Jasmine.
We're going to have to start all over again.
Well, I don't know.
Okay, so we are Natural You Yarns, and we are independent yarn dyers that use all natural dyes on all natural bases.
Yes.
And Sunday Sip and Stitch is sort of our monthly check-in to let you know what's happening over here. Yeah. And share off our beautiful finished objects and such.
Yes. So. And today is the first Sunday of April, but it's also only a few days after the kickoff of our spring sweater knit along. And so I'm actually wearing one of the patterns that is an option for the knit along. This is the sprocket sweater. And Jasmine has the patterns for both this and the other option.
Coincidentally, they're from the same designer. This is Pip and Pin.
And she's fantastic. I love the way her patterns are, first of all, they're size inclusive, but she has charts that show you just exactly all the measurements. Very easy to read and figure out which size you'd like to knit. Mm-hmm. And then she has detailed information on how much yardage you're going to need for all of the different colors. And she's got it in yards, meters, and grams, which is really handy.
Yeah.
Not just the main color, but all the all the contrast colors as well. And so because of the rings in this sweater getting larger on the way down across the yoke, the first one uses less meters than the last one, but it's all written out for you for each size, which I've never seen that in another pattern, I don't think.
No, I don't think I have either. And I'm just going to show it off a little bit.
Okay.
The page. I wish that I had done this, gone live on my computer, my webcam, rather than the phone, because then I could split this screen and show them with a little bit more detail. But this is the page in the pattern that Andrea is talking about on the sprocket. And all of the colors are divided by size. Each column is a different size. It goes from extra, extra small to 7X. And then it's divided by
main color and contrast colors, right?
Well, within each, there's 3 separate sections you were talking about. There's the grams, there's the yards, and then there's the meters. And each of these lines, I think there's 6 in total, main color and contrast color 1 to 5. And each one is breaking it down by grams, yards, meters, like you said. Mm-hmm. So it's a really comprehensive pattern in that way, and really very helpful for choosing your yarns.
Yes.
And because it's the same designer.
She does the same thing for the other pattern too.
Exactly. The Aster T is what you're currently working on now, Mom, right?
Yes. And I think that I'm going to just check out her patterns before I check out other things, just because I like that. I really, really like that.
So Karen's joining us. Hi, Karen.
Thank you.
Karen. Karen has been a big support in us switching over to YouTube. We didn't want to alienate all the people who like to watch us live on Facebook, but we wanted to reach a bigger audience. So thanks, Karen. And she says that we weren't paused when I shared the video, which is good.
Terrific. Thank you.
So, yeah.
So, what are you wearing?
What I'm wearing?
Yes.
Well, I thought because you're wearing the top for this knit
Oh.
along, I'd wear a shawl for another use for minis because it's the year of adventurous knitting, which is focusing on the advent calendar that came out in 2022, Merry Maritimes, and how best to use our minis up throughout the year and fun, exciting, adventurous projects. So
Yes.
this was a knit along we did a couple years ago called the Colorwick Knit Along, Colorwick Cal, and this is the Overlander shawl.
Yes.
And it uses 5 minis, but again, our minis are larger, so you could actually probably get away with 4. 4 is what comes in our gradient or our mini set.
Because ours are, you said that, right? 25 grams instead of 20.
Or you just, because you use your color until you run out, you could actually just make a bigger shawl than.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're using 5 of our minis, it would just be a tad bit bigger.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of nice sometimes. We learned that inadvertently with the first knit along.
That's right. It's wrapped up on the mannequin real nice. Should I grab it down?
If you want, sure.
Okay.
Our first knit along was the coffee break shawl, and it also incorporates a main skein and 5. No, it's actually 6 minis, and it's written by an American designer. I forget the name of the designer.
Oh, that's bad.
That is bad. We apologize. We will post that in the comments
it's
later.
Not just a designer, also a yarn dyer. So the fact that I'm drawing a blank.
I'm sorry.
But that's okay. I will go to our website. So the wonderful thing about our website is the headings along the top. There is one called Our Knits. And when I remember and we take the photos of what we're wearing, I try to upload the photos so that you have sort of like a photo gallery of things that we've knit with naturally dyed yarns for inspiration. And the coffee break shawl is one of the first ones. If you click on the picture of all of our photo reels in that gallery, it will take you to the corresponding pattern. So this
on Ravelry.
On Ravelry, yeah. So this was published in Heidi and Lana. The designer's name, she just says Margaret. I'm going to click on Heidi and Lana.
There's a number of different patterns.
Yeah, there is. So, well, view in my library. You know what? I'm going to visit the pattern website because I want to give Margaret a last name. I want to know what's happening.
I think she may just be one of those people that doesn't have her last name listed.
Right. Well, Heidi and Lana is a company that produces yarn and other accessories. So there you go. Anyway, got to the bottom of that.
The whole point I was trying to make was we've lost the point totally now.
That's us.
When Jasmine suggested that you could just make the shawl bigger, it tipped me off to remember that this particular shawl, the needles that were listed on the pattern, the sizes were given in the US sizes. And Jasmine just assumed that they were given in millimeters because every other pattern gives it to you that way most of the time. And so Jasmine used a 5 millimeter needle instead of a size 5 US. And this created a looser fabric and, of course, made the shawl larger.
Yeah.
And it actually worked out really well, right?
I forget to block things a lot of the time, so this one hasn't even been blocked, but it's giant. And people have been coming in and they're like, oh, I want to knit that big, big shawl. And I'm saying, well, you know what? It actually doesn't take that much yarn.
Yeah, so we've reinvented.
A whole bunch of people, we've reinvented the wheel. A whole bunch of people are now making it oversized. And I think it still shows lovely sections of like the brick stitch here.
It's nice both ways.
Yes, because everybody else who did the knit along with us knit it in the right needle size. And
yes.
They're beautiful photos of finished objects.
And sometimes we tend to make errors or I change things and other people don't. And then it's actually a nice way for you to be able to see the options that you could potentially have. And I think that the sprocket sweater that I'm wearing is another example of that because the pattern is top down. When you cast on, the instructions say to just knit the yoke, and then at the end of your knit, you come back, you pick up the stitches around the neck and knit it so that you have a folded hem. And I thought, no, when I'm done, I want to be done. And I also don't want it really thick around the neck. I don't want it to be too warm sometimes. So instead of going straight into the yoke, I actually did an inch of 2x2 ribbing. And so I did the same at the bottom and on my cuffs, because I decided that I'd rather have a ribbed edge on this sweater than a folded hem. So that's another option.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. Other people I know are going back at the end and picking up. And it does give on the pattern, I think it really structures it maybe a bit better than what mine is, because the other thing I did was I really overcompensated, and when I blocked this, so my neckline is a little bit wider than it might have been. So keep that in mind if you decide to change yours as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
We always joke that you can't help but change a pattern.
I don't know what it is about me, but
Yes.
it's like instructions. I don't think.
She goes rogue every time. And we're doing the same thing with
the second dot.
You're knitting the Aster tee now.
Yes,
and in beautiful Lagoon.
So this
we just finished selling off Olive Lagoon.
Yes, that's going to a yarn shop possibly near you. And so
so here's Lagoon, and you'll be able to purchase a Lagoon in.
Yes, and this is it knit up. I have now faded in from the first skein to the second one, and it does change a little bit, but not drastically, I don't think.
It's a beautiful color, a green color for spring. It looks like an open field. And our new wholesaler or stockist of Natural Ewe Yarns and Lagoon is going to be Grey Heron Yarns in Belleville. So
yes, so that yarn should be getting to her shop.
Yeah,
in the next.
If you also want to knit a beautiful spring top in this gorgeous green emerald tone, really, you're gonna have to hit up Grey Heron Yarn Store.
Yeah, you are. The change that Jasmine was referring to when it comes to this pattern, this is the second pattern. It's the Aster tee, and it's knit from the bottom up. And I tend to relax over the course of my knitting and loosen up, which was fine with the sprocket. It's sort of an A-line because it was top down, but Jasmine didn't want this one to get looser on the way up.
It would have been an inverted A-line.
Yeah, it would not have been appropriate. So I actually started with a little bit larger needle and then have switched to a smaller needle so that it'll actually give it a bit of shaping that way, because I will loosen up again as it goes up.
Based on this sweater, the sprocket that she knit, we knew that she got gauge in a 3.25 millimeter needle.
Right.
And I would like for myself the extra large size, and she said she'd knit it for me. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, because Jasmine's busy doing some other behind the scenes stuff.
And so, because like she said she'd loosen up, I said jump up a needle size. So actually the base is going to be, we measured it, it's about the size of the size up.
Right.
Which means it's gonna, and then you've changed needles again. So it's gonna cinch it in, and as you loosen up, it'll come out again. It's gonna have a nice shape.
It's gonna have a little bit of waist shaping.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Rather than actually decrease and increase for shaping.
We're just changing needle sizes.
Isn't that crazy? So as you're joining us, would you let us know what pattern you're knitting? Because there were 3 options, but I think it's come down to these 2.
Yeah, I don't think anybody chose the third option, and well, then I don't have to knit it to show it, right? But,
right.
It's a beautiful pattern.
I would have had to suck it up with all the other stuff I got going on and knit that one too, which I don't mind if somebody wants to join late. That's another point, because we were sick last week.
The week before.
Was it the week before?
Yep.
Yeah, we had to take a small hiatus for our health, and so
we've added a week on to the end of the knit along. So anybody that has not yet started has plenty of time to come in and get the yarn or join us online. And it's a 6 week, so now it's a 7 week knit along. And for some of you, that means that you could probably knit both of the patterns, possibly all three. You're so fast.
Some people are very fast knitters, and I admire them so much for that. I'm still working on my socks. That's a perfect segue. This was the color combination for February, if you'll believe it. We're doing sock of the month, and they're 250-gram skeins. We sell them individually, but we've paired them together in contrasting or complementary colors to create interesting mismatched matched socks.
There are a lot of patterns for that now on Ravelry, eh?
But rather than buying them as one, we're sort of switching it up each month, and there's a bit of a sale on that because you're buying the sock set of the month. It's cheaper than if you bought them individually. So
yeah,
and it switches every month.
So
later today, I'm going to upload this month's, but I just wanted to show that I have been working on the sock. It's called
here, I'll hold that one.
String of Hearts, and I've been working
Isn't that cute?
with Bloomshin and Love Bug. And because I know that I wasn't very fast with the sample, these are still available online as sock set of the month, previous month, for a discount if you're interested.
And you switched it up on the hearts down by the toe.
I did. I thought
she filled those in.
I wanted to see them a bit better. I do enjoy the outline, but I think that it's more striking as the solid. Well, right. I wanted to play
around. And let's sew the mismatched matching one.
So I'm going to invert the pattern. As you see, I have just sort of begun.
Not cute?
They are top down. They are so adorable, aren't they? You can see the hearts. Sometimes it feels like an optical illusion because
there's a little bit of variation in the tones, but basically you do see the hearts. Okay, I'm gonna put that down.
Okay. I guess I can pick up my yarn and start working.
Is anybody commenting?
Well, I went over to Facebook to make sure that I did share the link because we don't have as many people watching as usual.
I think it's probably because of the switch, and we didn't really have a lot of posts around having this event today.
Guys.
It's just we haven't. First of all, we were sick, and we've been trying to play catch up, and it actually affected Jasmine for a little bit longer.
And I handle all the social media stuff.
Right. So we have been in the shop, and I've done a few things here, but Jasmine is still in recovery. So
yeah, if you come in to shop, I'm not the one you're going to be meeting with.
No, it'll be me. I get to visit with everybody.
I've been isolating a bit more because I'm still symptomatic.
And I think that the other thing is, it's just sort of hanging on, like the foggy brain part and the being tired. So we're not moving as fast as normal.
No, we really aren't.
But that doesn't mean that we're not
sorry
available or Yes, Jasmine did rearrange the wall behind us for today.
A little bit.
So that while we had an order go out, a rather larger order go out, and we just wanted everything to be kind of visible while we were live. So Jasmine has made things work in slightly different ways. We're always changing our wall because our yarns tend to go quite nicely together. It's almost like a transition from one section to the next because the colors work together so well. And so even when one of our colors might be unavailable, then another one just pops in there quite nicely and works. Right?
I agree, yeah. Plus it's fun to switch things up. You might notice behind us, our big thing in March was the release of the Boreal collection, and thank you so much for everyone who had interest in that because well, a lot of the yarn has left to find new homes, and that's very exciting. So again, we did have to switch it up, but this year or this month's focus has been on our sheep bags.
Yeah, well, lambing season is coming, and I
Exactly.
thought, well, these lambs you can take home.
Hmm.
So we've got some of them have two sheep, some have one, and they are all unique because I use the fabric that I get when I'm bundling yarn, which is then also dyed, and I use that, and that, like the yarn, always changes colors. So,
That's so true. Yeah.
yeah.
I think I'm just gonna grab this one. I love this tangerine color, but I am a peach kind of girl. They are made with cotton, organic cotton. There's no
100% cotton, yeah.
yeah. There's no what's that thing that the lining, the insert that makes things very
Oh,
stiff.
yeah, I do not use interfacing.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Because this bag is not only made from sustainable and earth-friendly material, but it's, you know, eventually biodegradable. So no
Yes.
synthetics.
I actually don't buy regular thread for sewing either. I make sure that I buy cotton.
Right, and it's just a drawstring bag. They have
It
a
is
little,
fully lined,
yeah,
and it has a square bottom.
yes. So they're about 10 by what, 11 or 13? What was the measurements?
11 by 12, I think.
Okay, and the bottom is about
3.5 inches or so, give or take, depending on where I started the seam.
And when
It
you're
varies
out
a little bit
and
sometimes.
working on your project, you just sort of fold down the brim,
Oh yeah, it'll
right?
just stand up for
And
you.
it'll stand up for you and work as like a little on the go yarn bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there, we did have quite a number, but then we had a big group of ladies come
Well,
through.
even since,
And since we've
there's still been people coming in. So
yeah,
I try and fit in doing a bit of sewing on a regular basis. So I think there's at least 2 more ready.
mm-hmm.
And
This is a new one to hit the shop recently with the purple lamb. He's cute too. Again, just drawstring. So those are your handles.
I didn't think that they would. I thought they were cute and they're fun to make, but I didn't think that people would be. I didn't realize that they would be appreciated as much as they have been. So thank you very much for
They're
that.
fun.
That feels,
They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've done a whole bunch of different bags throughout our time bundle dyeing, right?
yeah.
Some eco printed and other things, but we tend to stick with the drawstring bag, but we also have some origami ones.
Yes.
Or they all sold.
The small origami one is gone,
Okay.
and there's the big one,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of like a carpet bag.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for complimenting the socks, Karen. She is making the sprocket sweater, and Karen is a perfect example of how you can manipulate the pattern and use only 4 of our minis.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how she does that. But again, it's because
The weights are listed for how
Mhm.
much to use, and because our minis are 25 grams, I think you can use the 4 rather than 5, right up to a medium or a large in the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the knit along began on Thursday. We did a small kickoff, and then we had Maker Circle at night. And every Thursday at about noon,
Yeah.
we're gonna go live and check in, and we're gonna go live here on YouTube.
Yeah, and we'll do a little bit of an update so that people, like, for the knit along, and everybody
Mm-hmm.
is encouraged to share their progress, the yarn choices. Have we talked about the Facebook group?
Not this time around, but I was
Okay.
just about to say
We have a
that.
Facebook group. It's called the Year of Adventurous Knitting, and it was developed out of the desire to work with the people that have purchased our advent calendar to spend the year using up the minis and making delightful things.
But if you didn't purchase the advent calendar, you're still free to join.
Yes.
And we
have
always
minis.
have mini skein sets available.
Yes.
Yeah.
So your options are not maybe as great, but we do have options.
What do you mean not as great? They're great options.
Well,
They're
they
just
are
not
because there's like
the exact
2 or
same.
3 of each different color combination, and then Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so people do spend some time
I
studying,
think it's a
trying to
great
figure it out.
encouragement that if you want to be able to do things in the same colors that we're knitting our samples, you're going to have to remember to buy your advent calendar this year.
Yeah, because this is probably going to be something that we do next year as well. And
So,
it's been a lot of fun so far.
so this is our second knit along of the year that is focusing on using our minis. And I just want to say that you can post and find support in the Facebook group, but I'm going to be announcing maybe on both Facebook and Instagram how the participation ballots are going to go, because of course we're going to have a draw at the end.
Yes.
Participation ballots are I'm going to outline it all, but basically when you hop on our maker circle, which is a bi-weekly Zoom, you're going to get a participation ballot, and if you post in the Year of Adventurous Knitting group to update people on your progress, there's a participation ballot. And
If you tag us in posts on your own timeline,
yeah, on your social media accounts, be it via Instagram or Facebook or whatever, if you tag us and use the hashtag Year of Adventurous Knitting, yeah, it's going to be really simple. Just the more you engage, the more
opportunities you have to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And of course, everyone is welcome to join us, but we are going to be slotting the people into the draw if they're working with our yarn.
Yeah.
That, you know.
And we've had a lot of people come on through and purchase some yarn for that. So we're really excited to see all these different spring sweaters, spring tops knit up in natural dyes.
And it's nice now. We've been open not quite a year, so it's lovely to see people coming in with the things that they've knit and wearing some of their project finished objects. Yeah. I'm not talking very well today.
You're doing just fine.
Maybe if I have a sip of tea. Yeah, so it's exciting to see for us how the colors knit up, because we don't see every color knit up necessarily. We just can't knit that many things. So we do have a lot of options.
And because we dye in small batches, we don't always do sample swatches for people to see either. It's just there's so many different variations. And each time Andrea dyes something, we consider it one of a kind oak, because even though she writes down the recipe and we're conscious of whether the dye is alkaline or acidic and such, the water here always changes.
It's funny.
Plant dyes are very variable. It depends on soil and things like this.
And pH in water. The water itself can affect. I mean. Yeah,
I said that, but I'm talking about plants. Even when we buy from our suppliers certain plants that we can't grow enough of abundance, each year is different from them as well, because of just things like this.
The nutrients in the soil, how much.
Yeah. So there's a lot of variation.
Yeah.
So if you like something, snatch it up, because we don't know if we'll ever make it quite the same again.
Right. And I think a prime example is even just the indigo. I make an organic indigo vat, but indigo is another thing. It depends on how many times you've dipped into the vat, how strong the vat is to begin with.
Oh, bless you.
Oh, excuse me.
So, speaking of indigo, we had somebody come in yesterday searching for indigo. And as you notice, this was Wabakimi. It was one of the colors dyed for the Boreal collection, Wabakimi being a provincial park that has some of the most waterways and rivers and such in all of the Boreal forest. And
not just in Canada, but worldwide, right?
In the Boreal forest, I believe, worldwide. Right. Yeah, I'd have to double check that. Don't quote me.
It's impressive.
But it is impressive. But the wonderful thing about it is that people go portaging and etc., camping. But you can't access it through any roads. You have to either fly in or kayak in or hike in. So
it's nice that there are still areas like that on the planet.
So it was fun to do an indigo dye and name it after that. But as you notice, even within the same indigo vat, they're slightly different, which means that if you want an overall look, like a consistency in, say, a sweater you're knitting, you're going to want to stripe them alternating.
Yeah,
Um,
like you kind of fade them together. I've done that this time. I didn't bring the point protectors for this, but this one started out with colors that were actually a little bit more variegated
mhm.
at the bottom and maybe a bit more yellow.
The bottom edge is curling up, but I think that's because
That'll
it's a twisted rib. Don't freak out if you're doing the aspartame that's happening to you.
it'll
Um,
block out.
yeah, just laying even a
So
slightly damp
back
towel
to
down on it when blocking.
I can't tell what I'm showing. Anyway, I have
It's showing
striped
well.
to the second color, and I don't know if you can tell a difference
You
from the bottom
can't.
to the top.
I can't tell a
But I
difference.
think that even if you can see that there's a bit of a difference, it's a smoother transition than if you just stopped one yarn and then started the next one.
Yeah,
You just sort of stripe to,
alternating rows
yeah.
to stripe it in. Or when I did my tulip top last year, I just had two skeins wound at the same time, and rather than stripe the next one in, I just kept alternating all the way through.
Right.
Every 2 rows, I switched which um, ball I was working from. Or you can find skeins with slight variation and purposely make it a very subtle gradient.
Yeah, that's a great idea too.
Mm-hmm. I love gradients though.
There's so many options, eh? It's just like the top on the other side of you, and oh, it's not in here. The La Pouf.
Yep.
Using 2 strands of fingering weight yarn held together to either unify the one color or to give it variation by using 2 different colors and then actually swapping them out gradually so that you get a fade in a marled effect. And that's really cool
I
too.
love marling though.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to holding 2 strands of fingering together.
And I did it to get a more uniform color when I knit the top that's behind you.
Mm-hmm.
I did White Horse by Caitlin Hunter, and because of the lace on the yoke, I wanted the color to be more uniform, and so holding 2 strands together,
yeah,
evened the color out better for me.
Mm-hmm. It does. It looks like you just one continual strand of color was used.
It's also a great way because most indie dyers, us included, dye fingering weight yarn. We don't necessarily have as many options in a DK or thicker yarn, but if you have a pattern that you want to knit in a thicker yarn, just go for the color range in the fingering and double it up.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's also a great way to use up your one-of-a-kind skein. So I know a lot of people shop indie dyers and they love something, but they're on a yarn diet or they don't know what they're going to do with it, so they only buy a single skein of yarn.
Right.
And then later it's like, well,
you've got
what
like
do you
15
do?
single skeins.
And how many tiny little shawls are you going to make?
Yeah, so just marl them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Marl your colors and create larger pieces.
So, and it's fun to do that too because then you really don't know what you're going to get in the way of colors.
Who likes marling? Are we the only ones? Is this sort of a natural you obsession, or are there more people out there? Because I know that one of our followers also loves to do it, but
well, there's the opposite reason or a different reason for some people liking to do that because not everybody enjoys working and producing thinner garments. Some people just prefer something a little warmer and thicker.
Especially when you're working with our natural wool, you know, it's non-superwash, no nylon, you know, the natural sustainable fibers, you're going to get the goodness of merino wool, being that it's warmer and also moisture wicking and odor resistant and all this wonderful stuff that you don't get if it's superwash. And so if you want a thicker garment to have those qualities as well, yeah, it makes sense to double it up. I will say though that our pull it down, our GOTS to have it is a GOTS certified yarn that we bought prior to dyeing. It was GOTS certified, and then we use all natural dyes, botanical dyes, but it has been superwashed in sort of a groundbreaking all natural process. It's called Schuler EXP, and that stands for X pollutant. And they're kind of hush hush on their technique because they are so far ahead in the field. But basically, rather than using toxic chlorination to strip the wool of the scales, they use
Well, and they don't dip it in a resin either.
no, but first of all, they use salt in a sort of oxidization process to get rid of the scaly bits. And then rather than, so normal superwash is sort of like a polymer resin that coats the fibers.
And that's what keeps it from felting.
Yeah, it's what keeps it from felting, but it also means that over time, the properties of the wool, it sags, it stretches, it's not lovely to work with. They use
It's no longer biodegradable.
a spot resin with a non-pollutant type of polymer, and it's very, very fine points that they put it on just to make sure that the process that they use to strip the scales doesn't affect the quality of the wool. And anyway, it's
or the environment.
Right, so it's got certified technique and a blue sign, I think that's what they're calling it. Anyway, industry standards on environmentally friendly and
it's not easy to get certification.
No, so they're the world leaders in some of the best machine washable techniques. Yeah.
Right.
So,
but we really would
we don't recommend you put it in the washing machine.
It doesn't matter if it's a hand knit object. I think that at the risk of putting it in a spin cycle and it being stretched totally out of shape, I wouldn't put anything hand knit into the washer.
Well,
having said that, I put my socks in.
You do put your socks in,
but I hang them to dry.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, because even when I'm throwing something like t-shirts and jeans or things that can go into the washing machine, and I always use like a pH balanced laundry detergent, and I always do like a cold wash. But even then, at the end, they've been agitated so much, you get like arms wrapped around legs and things that are stretched. I would never do that to a knit garment.
You pull out this big bundle of legs from your leggings and sleeves from all your t-shirts that then you need, it's like spaghetti.
So shawls, sweaters that have been hand knit, I would never do that to them. Especially since with products like Soak and Eucalan, both of which we carry, you just put a little bit in a basin or a sink that you've filled with cool water, tepid water, and you just let it sit and soak, and then you don't even have to rinse it.
Gently squeeze the water through it, right? Take it out, let it, don't really squeeze or wring it out a lot. Put it in a big thirsty towel, roll it up, walk on it even to get all the moisture out.
I love that description, big thirsty towel.
And then lay it flat, whether you lay it on another towel on your bed or use the dining room table or the living room rug. It doesn't take that long for things to dry. And I find that sometimes it's even possible to, once you've laid it out, if it's starting to dry and you want the underneath to dry quicker, just flip it over. It's like, yeah.
Especially since each time that you are washing your garment shouldn't be that often to begin with, because the wonderful thing about natural wool is that it is odor resistant, and certain ones like are antibacterial and antimicrobial. I think that's like certain things like bamboo and other natural fibers like that as well. So they don't need washing as often. There's even techniques like sometimes you can snow washing.
Yeah, which is really cool. We haven't done that.
Can't do that right now because all the snow's gone. It's April. But there's also a technique where you just need to air them out. So people will, without washing them, just hang them on the line and just let them air.
In the breeze.
Yeah, let the breeze sort of.
And then all the neighbors can be jealous of all your hand knits.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So they don't need to be washed as often, and when they do, it's not like every time you're blocking it again, right? You're just laying it out and slightly shaping it. So.
Right. And a lot of times personally, I'm layering my knits over something.
Yeah. Now I am a hot body, so I will sweat through no matter how many layers I have. But wonderful thing about natural wool is that it is
So breathable.
so breathable, yeah, and water resistant. So even if the tank top I have underneath is is a little, sustaining the effects of my hot body, my wool isn't. So
Yeah, because it's
I didn't know a nice way to say it, even when I'm sweating.
real
Um,
women sweat.
yeah, well, it's that's how your body regulates your temperature.
Yeah, socialization has made it
Hmm.
taboo to sweat.
I'm sorry, I haven't been keeping up with the comments because they've been so infrequent. But I think that's because we
That's a
talk
lesson
so
to you
much.
all, isn't it? You
No, it's
better
because we
start
talk too
speaking up
much.
if you want her to notice you.
Karen is saying that she's never done marling. I think that's what she was referring to.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah, I started knitting a pair of really thick socks for the winter, and I named the pattern Marling Darling, and I have it written out in hand in short form, but I only ever did the one sock, single sock syndrome. Once I have the second one complete, I think I'll put that pattern out for free, and it's a way to use up your scraps, and I think I'm holding 4 fingering weight. There's techniques to make them cohesive, so it doesn't look like you're striped or color blocking.
No, because when you swap them out, you swap out one color at a time.
Right, and
The other 3 are carrying on.
if you have a single tone that is either one strand that you carry all the way through, or it's played out in multiple yarns that you have, and so that color carries through as well, it has a really cohesive look to it. And I think I even used up some of my mohair, the extras from a sweater, so that because I was using non-superwash and non-nylon yarns, I wanted there to be that strength.
Right.
So a little bit
Yeah,
of
and mohair will do that. So if you're wanting to make socks with, for example, the Gots to Have It yarn, which has no nylon in it, just hold a strand of mohair with it for the extra strength. And sometimes that's even if you've got our Echo, which is 80% merino and 20% recycled nylon, sometimes we still have issues with socks in the toe or heel area. I
We're
can't.
just harder on them there.
Yeah, we are. So if you added a little bit of mohair in those areas as well, then your socks would have that much more strength.
Plus, they're gorgeous and fuzzy.
But silk is actually stronger than nylon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nylon was created as a synthetic replacement for silk back, I think, in the 1920s.
Well, it was used because of parachutes. They wanted to make the parachutes out of they need to be lightweight but strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what created nylon.
Right. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, the Marling Darling pattern I do hope to release, and it'll be a free way to marl. Using fingering weight yarns, I think I have even thicker than worsted. It's more like an Aran weight sock.
Like a chunky almost.
Yeah, it's a really nice chunky sock. But there's also wonderful patterns out there. I know Tin Can Knits has a couple hat patterns or mitt pattern. Definitely a hat pattern where you marl your yarns together. So
Hedgehog Fibers.
Hedgehog Fibers does a lot of marling, like the LeBouf sweater I did, and is usually on display in here. You can see it on our website under our knits.
You can just hold together as many strands of yarn as you like, see what kind of gauge you get, and then find a pattern, just a regular pattern, and knit it marled.
That's interesting too. It's like working backwards.
Yeah, because I've done that. I had all kinds of, we all have leftover yarns, and we all, or the majority of us, tend to gravitate to one color group more so than another. So if you've got all these different shades of burgundies and beiges and reds, then using them in a marl gives it cohesion already, because you're only changing out one color at a time. I did a cardigan with 3 colors, so 2 were still the same, 1 was new, and then you just swap out the next one, and that's how you get your transitions. It's really rather cool to do. It's fun.
It is.
We
I
should
love
do a
it.
knit
We're,
along.
I know we're talking extensively about it, but yeah, we should definitely do a knit along
Yes.
with Marling.
Tell us if you're interested in that kind of thing, and perhaps we can think of something for when we get into the cooler weather again in the fall, and you might want something thicker. So,
Yeah. Oh, remember when you borrowed my scissors? Do you
oh,
have any scissors on your person?
not on my person, but in my little thing here.
Because I admire, I know Stephen West, we talk about him sporadically almost all the time. I admire him for so many things, but the one thing that I really, really love when I'm watching him is how he just breaks yarn with his fingers.
Oh my God!
But I
Just
can't,
break the yarn.
I can't do it. I've tried,
In
and I
what?
just rip my stitches off my needles. So I've gotten past the small color work portion here. I'm gonna cut my contrast color, and I'm gonna knit for about 2 inches in my main color before I do my heel flap. And I'm working on 9-inch circulars, which I know a lot of people don't like or they haven't tried because they seem way too small and finicky. But I adore them. I absolutely love them.
I think it looks cute, but it crimps my fingers.
Well, the thing is, you're not trying to hold the whole thing with all your hands.
It's like knitting with toothpicks.
Well, I like knitting with toothpicks then. There is a podcaster, Knitting with Cat Hair, so maybe that should be our name, Knitting with Toothpicks. Yeah, it's small and it seems silly, but I don't grip it with all my hand. You're not going to lose it. I hold my main color, Continental, so in my left hand, and I just kind of hold between my thumb and my middle finger. That's how I hold the needle, and I use my pointer to like push on the tips of the needle to help move the needles through my yarn rather than yarn off my needle.
Right.
Does that make
okay.
sense? Like I'll knit 1, 2, 3, and because they're small needles, all of a sudden there's
a gap.
There's a gap between the point of my needle and where the stitches fall. So I will just push on the needle itself, and then my stitches slide along.
Oh.
And I find that it's like really fast, and I always get stuck on sock knitting 2 at a time. I've tried. I've done double points. I've done circulars.
Double points, like 4 times around, you got to switch things up.
Yeah, so this is what I like. I can't believe that I like it, but has anyone else tried 9-inch circulars? And I know I'm unusual, but is anyone willing to try them? Do we have sock knitters out there watching?
I like doing socks on 2 circulars, 2 at a time socks. So I have 2 balls of yarn, obviously, for one for each sock, and the top of the sock is 1 needle for both socks. Then I flip it over and I knit the soles or the back of the foot on the other needle, and the circular just comes around again to the beginning of that part of the sock for me.
Yeah, that makes sense to me too.
It makes it easier when you get to the heels and the toes, and
I've done it like that. I don't know, did I do 2 at a time? I feel like I must have at one point.
I have no idea, I don't remember. We try and knit a lot. And I'm at the part of my pattern where I can show you. This is where the end of round is, or beginning of round, and I just wanted to show you the line going down is not really a line.
We had to talk about this though. Like,
yeah,
I can see it.
I can see it. I don't mind it. This is going to be on the side of your body, and it's nice, even if it's down the back, to see sometimes which is the front of my sweater and which is the back. But on the inside, without losing all my stitches, this is the section here where I striped in the new color, and I just twisted the yarn around each other when I got to the beginning of the round again. I always brought it up and over the yarn that I was finished with so that it held together and there were no gaps on the outside. So this is it here. I don't know if I can see it well enough or if I've moved too much.
I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you do see it, but you don't, right? Like
Because
nobody's
you're
going to
pointing
be
it
looking.
out.
Yeah.
We saw it, and you held it up for viewing and pointed to it. But I think a great point you made the other day is that all of our clothes have seams. Not when we're knitting our circular sweaters,
Right.
right?
There are no seams, but everything else you own has seams.
Even
T-shirts.
a raglan sweater. I mean, you're not, you know, seaming the sides together or sewing the arms on afterwards like they used to do in
Right.
sweaters.
Right.
But you're still creating that line in your work that is visible, and it's kind of what we're used to when we look at garments.
Yeah, you don't really notice it anymore, right? Nobody looks and says, "Oh, look at that! They've used 3 pieces to make that dress."
Mm.
It's not one piece, but then it's impossible to do that.
So the fact that we stress about whether or not you can see where we alternated yarns or striped in the beginning of round or something is silly. I had somebody called the other day and said they were knitting a pattern we wrote, and the way that we wrote it was, you cast on an extra stitch and then you move that extra stitch to the left hand needle after you've gone around, and then you knit two together to
start your first round.
yeah, to
kind of bring
start
it
knitting in
together
the
better.
round, and that way they are together better. And the caller who was asking us some details about the pattern said, I can still see the join. There is still a little gap there, and we have to remember that once you go around and you start the next row, you're actually
jogging up.
You're jogging up. You're always going to see a little bit of end.
The only way not
effect.
to see it is to slip the first stitch in a round. So if you're doing stripes and they're definitely contrasting and you want the stripe to be even, then in order to avoid a jog, you knit the first round of the new color completely, including the first stitch, but on the second round of this new color, you just slip the first stitch and it pulls that up, and you're not going to see a jog the way that you would if you didn't do that.
I did do that with not because of the color work, it wasn't always possible,
right?
But I did do that a few times
with the socks.
With the socks, but I'm not finding.
Maybe look on this one.
No, I don't. No, I didn't do it on that one.
Oh, okay.
I did it on this one because I remembered that. What is it? I'll show it to you first, but it didn't seem to make a difference. In fact, it made
because
the
there's
heart
a variation of.
It made the heart look even worse.
Oh. It sometimes it doesn't.
Because see where it pulled it down. I'll show
Right.
you in a moment. I just you
I can't really tell.
Okay, I'll get up close with the camera. Let's see here. So my beginning of round marker, and see, I tried to make the heart line up, but it's a little wonky. I think with a light blocking, that'll be okay. But it's definitely, when you're starting the next round, you are jogging. And so I did try doing a couple slip stitches, but it might have backfired. But if one heart out of all of them looks a bit off, that's all right. The beginning of rounds.
Nobody follows you around and tries
back
to see what's on your ankle.
Right, nobody's staring at your feet that closely. And if they are, they're not looking at your
You want to run.
Anyhow.
Maybe if you're sitting on public transit or something and they have time to stare, but
isn't it Father's Day coming up this month?
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day?
Beginning of May.
No, when's Father's Day?
June.
Oh, okay, I got it all backwards then.
Why? What are you knitting for Father's Day?
No, I was just gonna say that the sock set of the month, we have to announce a new 250-gram combination.
Oh, why don't you show it?
Yeah. Well, I'm inspired by this bag that you sewed. This tangerine tone bag, and so I went with crab cake and driftwood. And
oh, neat!
That they're pretty, and that way you can choose to stripe them together because the soft taupe tones in that will complement this one, or you can do
that should be really kind of rather cool to stripe because you've got the beige in both. It's good to be totally mixed up.
Yeah, and I know I don't have it right here to show you, so I'm going to reach over and grab one of our samples. This is crab cakes all knit up. 150-gram skein. I wanted to show what it looks like knit because
That's pretty cool.
it is pretty cool.
If I do say so myself.
It's not, it looks like stripes, but it's not one continual stripe. The way they play out is really...
It's more of a spiral.
Yeah, really unique.
Which is kind of cool because then you don't need to worry about whether or not you're jogging.
So you can do one whole sock in one and the other in another, or you can do contrast heels, toe, and cuff, and then
Swap
invert which one is the main and what one is the CC.
There are a number of patterns now on Ravelry that are actually intended to be mismatched matching socks.
Yeah.
And so to do that with most sock yarns is difficult now because you're needing to buy 100-gram skeins, and that was another reason why we decided to have some that are in 50-gram skeins. It's also really handy for people that want to do Fair Isle and don't want to buy another skein in each color. You can just get a 50-gram skein in all the different contrast colors for your yoke. Or the minis, which we're using for the sprocket.
I'm trying to... I don't know how to show off this. I keep trying to show it off and move
But it looks nice like that.
I know, it's just so much shawl. That's the problem. It's too big.
Well, sometimes shawls are too small. I tend to use a lot of my smaller shawls as instead of a scarf. And it actually works out nicely because the wide part of the triangle part of the shawl will be at the front, and then you don't have as much fabric going around behind your neck under your coat as if it was a rectangular shawl or scarf, I mean. So lots of different reasons why shawls are a nice thing to have.
There is a post in the Year of Adventurous Knitting. Every once in a while I'll drop these pattern posts, pattern suggestions, and usually have anywhere from 5 to 10 patterns that call for minis. Now there is a post for all kinds of shawls that call for minis and color work, and there's another post for all kinds of scarves because shawls and scarves are a little different, even though you use them interchangeably yourself. So if you're curious how to use up the minis that you have or scrappy bits or incorporate multiple 50-gram skeins, that's a wonderful post to search for in the group The Year of Adventurous
Yeah,
Knitting.
because it takes so much longer to just find them on Ravelry, right?
Yeah.
So that group is really good. And if you yourself have found patterns or have knit patterns that incorporate multiple colors of minis, then please share that with people in the group of Adventurous Knitting. That's the purpose behind the group, is not just for us to help you, but for us to all help each other. So that
I almost thought you were going to say for you to help yourself.
for you to help me. So yeah, any more comments?
No. Radio silence from, I think everybody must be busy knitting.
Which is fine.
Yes. I do believe that both people watching and commenting, Joanne and Karen, are part of the knit along, so they might be busy working on their 2 spring sweaters respectively.
Right. It's the patterns really are quite opposite. One is top down with working the colors in the yoke at the beginning of your work, and then transitioning to working with one color to finish your sweater. And then the opposite is true of the sprocket tee, which it's just knit until you get to the armholes, where then you separate to work the front and the back separately. And while I'm on that, I'm just going to say that I'm really lucky because I have an interchangeable set of needles. So we have the collage square, and what I like about it is just when you get to the point where you're working, you need to keep some of your stitches on spare yarn or I don't know, different people use different things. I
Mm-hmm.
just take the needle out off the end and put a stopper on it. And then when I get to the other end of the part that's supposed to be on a holder, I put the needle on a new piece, like a second cable. And so one cable will be in my work holding the stitches, let's say for the back of this top when I get there. And I'll be able to work back and forth with the needles and attached to a second cable to be able to do the work with that. And then when you go to do the other half, you just need to take the stoppers off and put your needles on, and you don't need to pick up all those stitches.
Yes, it's so much easier than trying to pick up the
Mm-hmm.
stitches or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for sure.
And it
I
also
use that
helps you be
technique
able to
too.
try it on.
Yes, I used that technique too. I
Mm-hmm.
think once I tried the scrap yarn idea and I did not like that as much.
Because they all pull.
Yeah, and this is a great way to just, you know, keep
Avoid.
going. It's yeah, it's a wonderful thing to utilize when you have an interchangeable set.
And if you
We
don't have an interchangeable set,
we sell them.
well, you can also just use a second needle, a long needle.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little trickier because then you've got to put stoppers on the end of your needle so they don't slide out of your work. Um, but that's another way of keeping your stitches um, saved without having them on scrap yarn. Just use another needle to put through the stitches that you're saving and put a stopper on the end.
I'm going to advocate that you buy a collage interchangeable set instead. Because not only do we have the interchangeable sets, but we have extra
Cables.
needle tips, cables. So
Stoppers.
if you, yeah, extra cable stoppers, for like Andrea said, when you want to hold things on like sleeves. And then we have different needle tips. So you have your standard 5.5 inches or your 3.5 inches in case you're doing something a little bit more finicky like your sleeves or a hat.
Well, that's the other thing. When you go to do your sleeves, the regular needles in an interchangeable set are this long. This is where I'm bending it now for the cable. And when you're going around a sleeve, that's sometimes too long. So you're doing magic loop multiple times around because the needle itself pulls the work out of shape for on you and it's impossible to knit properly. So if you just switch to a shorter needle, then magic loop becomes so much easier to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when you're knitting hats and stuff.
Right. I wanted to just say, I don't know if anyone saw what I was doing, but for the longest time I was taking the end of the contrast color, which I had finished with in my last round, and I was wrapping it around my working yarn each time I was doing a stitch. And that's a technique we learned called the Weave and Steven. I'm sure there's other designers who have named it something else, but it's a way to knit in your ends as you go.
And point out yet again how brilliant Stephen West is.
Well, and whether you're doing color work or you're doing mosaic color work,
Or
like
stripes.
Yeah.
If you're changing yarns a lot.
But it'll be good for these spring sweaters that we're knitting.
Right.
Yeah. So if you have to cut your yarn and you don't want to, it's a pain to go back and weave in all your ends. So it's a way to do that as you're going.
As you go, just weave your ends in. So if you don't understand the way we've tried to explain it, look up this Stephen West, and he has a video that will demonstrate it wonderfully.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's called The Weave and Stephen.
Right. So are there any questions about the knit along or yarn or anything we've mentioned today in terms of going forward? Because we have come up to the hour mark. So we usually are live for about an hour and then we call it a day.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because people that watch it afterwards don't want it to go on and on like a Netflix series. So
I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to Netflix and knit,
yes,
right?
but
we're not nearly as exciting as a car chase or a. I don't know. I hope that some of the things we said were helpful or, answered some questions regarding knitting. But I feel like a lot of our followers are really versed in knitting and
Yeah,
techniques.
there's some really good knitters in this group, um, test knitters and commission knitters. So it's a pleasure to um,
Hmm.
have you joining us, and it's an
Exactly.
honor because we're not like we feel like we belong.
Right. Before I do our sign off and talk a little bit more about that, um, Joanne asks if those are the only two sheep bags we have left.
No,
And Andrea is continually working on more.
I have two more sewn. I need to put the drawstrings in.
And there are two more in the shop. Do you want to grab the one down? Because those two are very similar, right?
I don't know.
You're closer. I think they're the same.
Let me see. There's this one.
There are currently 4 in total. So there's this one, as well as these. They aren't on the website yet because they're just selling so well in store, and it's a bit hard to photograph drawstring bags for the website. I feel like I don't know how best to do that, just display the different bags for you. But if you see one that you like, here, you hold that, you hold this one, just send us a message and we will hold it for you. Can you hold this one too?
Sure.
Thank you.
We had a lady in yesterday, and I was only half kidding when I said, "So are you going to name your sheep?" And she went, "Oh." She had her 2 grandchildren coming to visit her yesterday, so she was going to ask them if they wanted to name her sheep. But you know where I got that is that we have a mega sized yarn bowl that's actually not, we don't have a spot in the shop for it at the moment. It's kind of our mascot, Henrietta, and we named her. So I thought, well, maybe you want to name the little lambs on your bag.
Mm-hmm. More will come out over the course of the year as the material is dyed.
Yeah, because the fabric will change colors too, right? As the yarns do.
Yeah, you're not dyeing the fabric specifically, you're dyeing the yarn, and the fabric is an offshoot.
Yeah, so
Sort
sometimes
like our aprons
you can match your yarn to your bag. See, here's Bloomshin.
Mm-hmm.
And that would go, your project would match your bag.
Yes. I put the tangerine bag beside Red Fox because they both have those beautiful tones to them. Yeah.
So, kind of cool. And that one up there matches Caribou.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Fun. I enjoy
now,
it.
that doesn't mean you have to buy the corresponding yarn, but why
Some people
wouldn't
like
you?
that. Some people really like their project to match their project bag. So there's another option for you. Down the road, we'll be needing to match those up for people.
Mm-hmm. We actually did that at the beginning when you first started doing the bags.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a bag and yarn combo set. And we kind of got away from that because, well, there's just not enough bags for all the yarn. But
I don't always have time to sew.
Mm-hmm.
Just keeping up with yarn is depends on the time of the year, and so maybe I'll have to start doing that again. Anyway, we were gonna sign off.
We were.
We're
Before
definitely
I do,
Canadian when it comes to saying goodbye.
Before I do, I want to mention that it would be great if you share our YouTube channel with any of your friends or followers. And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. It's free for you, and it means so much to us.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then you'll get notifications if you subscribe when we go live, which over the course of this knit along is going to be every Thursday for the next 6 weeks.
Yes. And we'd love to have you join us.
We would.
So for now, be natural.
Be you.
Bye.
Bye.